All right, welcome in. We are live. It's time for full court press. It's Friday. We've got Bryant Power back in his normal spot. Your typical Friday slate, I think. Couple games, obviously, 1 trillion games tomorrow. I showed up in my Buffalo Bulls hoodie. They have one of the biggest games that they've had in years tomorrow, but that's tomorrow. Today, we've got a nice slate to talk about. And Bryant Power, I'm going to go to you first. Nashville, Tennessee tonight. Gonzaga, Kentucky, neutral court. Both teams kind of had a bad effort last time out, if you will. Yeah. Gonzaga got blitzed. Kentucky hasn't had a good effort against a good team yet this season. Neutral floor, Big Blue Nation will be there. We know that. How are you seeing Gonzaga, Kentucky tonight?
So I'm going to open this breakdown by asking a question. It's kind of an odd way to open a breakdown by me asking a question. I'm supposed to, by being on full court press, I guess, allegedly supposed to have the answers. But my question to the both of you and everyone that is thankfully watching this show here on WagerTalk TV, guys, smash that like button if you would be so kind. Who's betting Kentucky in this game? And I asked that because it's very instructive. And I asked Trigg, you and I, having talked to you a little bit more than Rob through the years, I know for you that's a very instructive question, because when you have a matchup, a high-profile matchup like this, and no one wants a part of one side, all of a sudden, guys like me, I'm not going to speak for you, Trigg, but yeah, I know myself. All of a sudden, I start looking at that side maybe a little bit more than I should. I was in line now. Before we get to the number, you mentioned it, both teams off poor performances. Why do I ask who's betting Kentucky in this game? Well, a lot of people just watch this team, 72 hours ago, play North Carolina. And Rob Veno, I believe they went 10 minutes without making a shot. Very difficult to win a basketball game when you go 10 minutes without making a shot. I believe they were 1 for 13 from 3 in that game. Yep. And we talk about 3-point variance all the time. The problem for Kentucky, if you're just like, oh, well, they'll bounce back. What are they going to go 1 for 13 again? The problem is this has sort of been a long-term, big picture issue for them shooting from deep. And it's not like Gonzaga is a bad defensive basketball team. Gonzaga is a good defensive team. If you can't score against North Carolina, I'm not confident that you're going to score against Gonzaga. Now, on the Gonzaga side, this is a team that's had, over a week now? More than a week? Close to 10 days to stew over being absolutely humiliated in front of a national television audience in the Players' Era Final by Michigan. So I think a lot of people, and clearly this is what you look at the odds screen, what the market's thinking here. This is a bounce back. They think it's Gonzaga more than likely to bounce back. I was in line with the opener. So I when I saw this short number, I was like, oh man, there's going to be value on Gonzaga. And then I looked at my numbers and I said, ooh, it's actually not really very much value on Gonzaga, especially after they've taken the early money. So I don't know. We've gotten into trouble on some of these high-profile matchups, haven't we, Trigg and Rob, where we're like, man, I can't believe how this number's taken off. Eventually, I'm going to want to punch back at the market. And that's what I feel like I want to say right here on this game, that it's going to reach a point where I'm like, hey, maybe there's a little bit of value on Kentucky. I don't know, though. Gonzaga. My feeling is Mark Few is going to have his troops ready.
Yeah, I would concur, Brian. I wrote down some numbers just to put some context into a couple of things that you were saying. They've played 3 big games this year, Kentucky. They played Louisville. They played Michigan State on a neutral. They played UNC. Out-rebounded by 13 by Michigan State. Out-rebounded by 10 by UNC. It prompted Mark Pope. Again, let's go to Mark Pope quotes because he's been actively talking this year. We got crushed on the glass. We just got crushed on the glass. It's very, very disappointing tonight for sure. I don't think that's who we are. I'm really frustrated with the 8 assists and 9 turnovers. That's not who we've been either. We need guys to step up and give us great efforts. It's not the first time we've heard that from him. He's obviously the guy who said he was going to straighten this whole thing out a couple of games ago because he didn't think they were playing as a team, but as individuals. Not only were they out-rebounded, guys, Brian, you talked about the 3-point shooting, 1 for 13 against USC. It was 7 for 30 against Michigan State. And Michigan State, to me, is probably the better comp game because I feel like Gonzaga falls in line defensively and on the glass more with Michigan State, although UNC is always a good rebounding team. But Gonzaga on the boards, Gonzaga on the defensive end is generally comparable to what Michigan State is. And if you look at the rebounding numbers this year, Gonzaga is a really good rebounding team. How is Kentucky going to win the boards tonight? They probably don't. For all the shooting woes that Kentucky had in their game, Gonzaga had them twofold against Michigan. And I'm sitting there watching that game, and I'm like, okay, eventually the Gonzaga run is coming. And you know what came? Another Michigan run. It was like Michigan 10-0, Michigan 12-2, Michigan 14-3, all these runs, and they were run totally out of the gym. I don't think since the championship game against Baylor a few years back, I don't think I've seen Gonzaga beaten that soundly in a long time. I think they'll bounce back. I'll tell you what, too, guys. The total at 158.5, if you're just talking bounce back, both of these teams were so poor offensively, you would think they get back to the norm a little bit here, and maybe that total's a shade too low off of the prior results or the most recent results. I would have loved to have been in on the opening number, Gonzaga -3. I think that's a win. Pushing, like you say, Brian, now to 5.5, 5.5. It gets a little bit tougher, but I don't know. If you're going to ask me which one of these coaches is going to get their team, or which team is better prepped so far this season, or has shown better results so far this season to make us believe that there's a bounce back here, I'd have to say it's Gonzaga. I think they're more well-rounded. I think they go in transition better. I think a lot of things are better about Gonzaga. And Kentucky, to me, still seems to be in a little bit of an evaluation, experimentation stage. If I had to bet it, guys, I would probably lean to the Gonzaga side, and I think I would lean over here. I think this game probably gets into the 160s.
Yeah.
Just one quick point. If Kentucky makes their threes, and that's a big if, the game's probably going over, right? I mean, I would almost say that, hey, then taking the over, you don't have to worry about a potential Gonzaga bounce back. I think if Kentucky hits their threes, this game does probably go over the total.
Yeah, so my general sort of thought on this board today, I haven't bet anything yet in college basketball, which is not totally rare, but like I kind of I bet later in the day for a couple of reasons, but on this particular slate, I find myself thinking, I'm going to want to push back at some of these numbers, some of these moves. This one's kind of on my list to do that. Now, do I want to step in front of Gonzaga? I don't know. I don't really want to, but everything's got a price, right, Brian? Like if they're going to push this one up, I'm seeing 5.5 some places right now. Like there is a price that I may consider jumping in with Kentucky. Now it might be contingent on a couple of things. The first being Jalen Lowe playing in this game. I heard it's a possibility. That would certainly sort of make me like Kentucky a lot more than I would without him. Of course, my number's all out of whack on Kentucky because they've had key injuries pretty much all season. The transfer from Arizona State, Quintins, I don't think has even stepped on the floor yet this year. Diabate, he's been out. So, and of course, Jalen Lowe's only played 2 games. Come over from Pitt. He was someone that I remember you and I did a Pitt preview, Brian, and we were all about him maybe a year or two ago at Pitt. So would love to have him on the floor. That would make me sort of lean. If you had the combination of like Lowe playing and this got up to 5.5 or 6, would I like, listen, I saw Bayou in the chat speaking to someone else saying, hey, someone said, well, this isn't at Rupp Arena. It's in Nashville. Listen, Nashville might as well be Rupp South. This is like UConn. This is going to be like UConn fans showing up to the Garden. I mean, it's a lot closer.
It's a lot closer to Lexington than it is to Spokane. In case if you guys don't have your map out in the chat.
But even if it was on the moon, Brian, the Kentucky fans would get there somehow. Like true. They just show up. Like you're not going to get Gonzaga fans probably more than like a small section traveling to Nashville for this game. So I do think maybe you bump a point. Maybe a point for Kentucky having the environment being kind of quote unquote at home here. The concern for me is the 3 games that Kentucky has now played against. I think we've coined the term weight class on this show. Like the only ones that you're really going to evaluate Kentucky so far this season would be the Louisville game, the Michigan State game, and the North Carolina game. Have none of them have been good, right? Give up 96 points to Louisville, just get destroyed by Michigan State. and then by sort of all accounts played poorly, even though it was a close game. Did not play well in that game against North Carolina, in a game that, correct me if I'm wrong, they were close to a touchdown favorite in when it was all said and done. So I'd love to like confidently come on here and say, oh yeah, Kentucky plus the points, they've got a great chance to win. But I think there's some things that need to happen before I can get there with that. So I'll lean, if I see 5.5, so at 5.5, I got to lean Kentucky, but I haven't bet it yet. And I don't know if I will.
Few things here just to put a bow on it. Number one, our chat has gotten very lively about this game. We have certainly conflicting points of view on who's going to win and cover tonight. Number two, I think we mentioned this before the North Carolina game. And yes, Trigg, Kentucky did close 6.5 is what I marked it down as. Kentucky last year was significantly worse outside of Rupp Arena. We talk about how they'll still have the fan support edge in Nashville, obviously just one state down, but this was not the same team away from Rupp that it was last year. Let's note that. Now, of course, the North Carolina game, where was it? That was right in Lexington, Kentucky, and they couldn't hit water from a boat. So that doesn't bode well. I don't know if, it's a new team, it's a new year, but that was not encouraging. Normally, you see a shooting display that bad, you do want to run and bounce and back the team, but I don't know. Like we said, 3 games now, Kentucky's played a good team, and they haven't looked good in any of them.
Yeah,
this is a Dallas Cowboy smug, by the way, to whoever asked in the chat. It's full of Cowboys tears this morning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was big for me too, BP. I know you had Lions for a big play. Shout out. Yeah. BP hit a 5%er, and I didn't even know you had the Lions, and I had the Lions for a 4% win. So big night for us in football and college basketball. My teams continue to find inexplicable ways to blow games.
Yes.
Doug Gottlieb is still punching air right now for me. So anyway, Bayou says, Kentucky like South Florida yesterday. We have not seen their ceiling yet. We could tonight. My argument would be you can't without Jalen Lowe. You're not going to see Kentucky sniff their ceiling without Lowe, given the fact that they've also missed two of their other top players. So they're going to need to get healthy to realize their ceiling, but Low back would be a pretty big step in the right direction, and that's something I will monitor as the day goes on today. So people ask me sometimes, do a little segue here into a different game, and then I'll get you. I see you, Garth. I know you want to talk MAC basketball. We'll go there in a minute.
A lot of MAC teams.
Obviously, I'm ready to talk MAC hoops, but I want to do a little segue here. Someone asked me, how do you pick the games you're going to go to? And it's really a combination of just when I have an open day, Mallory letting me out of the house, maybe getting some media credentials, how many games I can hit at once. And then I like to see teams when they're really good. And so a spot I kind of had circled, because I also like to try to get 3 or 4 games in 24 hours, just economical, right? I was going to try to go down to the crosstown rivalry this year, and I bailed on that. And the reason I bailed on that is I can't justify. I would have dragged you out there, BP.
I was going to say, because Mallory's how many times are you going to go to Ohio?
Yeah. I would have dragged you out there, and I said, you know what? I can't do it. These two teams, it just can't do it this year. We got to do it a different year. The Crosstown Shootout, I believe they call it, is at the Cintas Center. Xavier, Cincinnati tonight. Both teams massively underachieving right now.
Presented by Skyline Chili, by the way.
Yeah. That would have been the draw. That would have been the draw for me, BP. The fact that we would have probably hit up Skyline Chili at some point. Oh boy, I don't know if Xavier has one. Fifth Third has a Skyline Chili in the arena. I'm not sure. I've never been to Cintas Center. Something I found extremely interesting. I'll let Rob kick this one off, and then we'll go to BP. Cincinnati hasn't won at Xavier since 2001. Is that true? Now, the reason it might be true is I do think that these two teams have played on a neutral a couple times. I think this game has been played on that in that arena in Cincinnati that's not Cincinnati's campus venue. I know Cincinnati-Dayton will play there occasionally, but that to me seems insane. Obviously, it's played every year. They typically alternate home road. That being said, neither of these teams have inspired a ton of confidence this year, wanting to back them. Cincinnati with the loss to Eastern Michigan. Xavier, a disastrous start to the season. Rob, we had some opinions on Xavier. Do you think they've turned it around enough to justify backing them at home in this spot?
Well, sidewise, I won't speak on, but total wise, I see potential for that, Adam. Right now, Xavier, last 3 games, 3 straight up wins, but better than that, 3 game totals that have gone over, 5 consecutive team totals over the number for Xavier, scoring points. And unlike Cincinnati, they've decided to go with quicker pace on the offensive end this year. I think both of these teams are top 35 as far as quickness, time of possession is concerned. So it looks like we'll get a faster game than maybe what we're accustomed to out of Xavier, Cincinnati. And Xavier right now, for what it's worth, 78 against West Virginia. And we know we've talked all season long, guys, about West Virginia with the coaching change, being an under team, being a slow, like snail's pace game. That game hit 146. Corpus Christi, I don't want to make too much out of that. St. Francis, PA, even though you were sporting their colors the other day, Adam, I don't want to make too much of that. But they have gone team total over 5 straight. If you just backtrack, you get the Georgia game. Of course, that's the famous game where we had 53 in the first half and couldn't get our team total over. And then prior to that, 99 against ODU. So I see something out of Richard Pitino's offensive end. And Cincinnati hasn't been a slow team, so I think I'll get the possession. They've still been a pretty good defensive team, still a pretty good rebounding team on the defensive end. But when I look at team total here, I see Xavier 75.5, and I think that one might get there. That's the thing that caught my attention the most in this game. The total, as you guys can see, 143.5 opener, all the way to 148. I don't know, BP. Is it the ass end of the line? If I bet over 148, I don't know, but I've lost 4.5 points worth of value in that, which I haven't really lost with Xavier's team total. So for me, guys, that's the perspective I looked at. I didn't really look at it from the side. I wonder, Trigg, if you decided not to go because you just don't want to be involved in any game-ending Xavier Cincinnati brawl altercation type thing. We don't want to see out there throwing hands.
Yeah. There was an all-timer. Like, well, that's got to be like 15, 20 years ago at this point.
I was thinking I was going to, that
Crazy.
Was.
There's a little bit of bad blood there. But for me, guys, I'm looking at, I haven't bet it yet, but I'm looking at the Xavier team total over 75.5.
I have not decided on my leg of the parlay yet, so I may come back this one. I like Xavier on the money line here. You know, something at this, and this is true for all sports, not just college basketball. Sometimes what we do is, you know, first impressions mean a lot. And what we do in any sport is we get our initial impression of a team and we let it stick with us for too long. In baseball, Trigg, and I know you could speak to this, baseball is such a long season, like teams can completely change over the course of 162 games. And, you know, you're saying things that are true about a ball club in May that just simply aren't true anymore in August. Well, I'm bringing this up because we were all piling on Xavier. We were on the show. We're like, man, what a rotten start this is for the Musketeers. They've kind of turned it around, you know, and they've turned it around. They've hit a lot of, they've been hitting a lot of now. What scares me is they've hit 10 or more threes in 3 straight games. Okay, can that continue? But you said something, Trigg, and it is, I did a little research here while Rob was talking, and it is true. Cincinnati's lost 10 straight as the visitor in this series. You would have to go back to 2001 to find the last time they won as a visitor. It was their first time ever visiting the Cintas Center. So,
Brian, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I ask you a question? Does anyone care though these days? Like, is that like, you know?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's. I mean, not only are all the players obviously changed, the coaching staffs change, obviously, but you know, you know, it's not like a long trip. Maybe it is an anomaly, I guess. I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. I actually talked. I forget what trend it was. I was going back and forth with Prez and Jorinari on their show a couple Mondays ago about some trend, whether. Okay, do you look at you know, is this trend predictive or is it just an anomaly? So I don't know. I mean, I guess there's 2 sides of that particular coin. Trigg, you can look at it. You're like, well, like Cincinnati's eventually got to win as a visitor, right? But I just think Xavier's playing better ball right now. Cincinnati was a little better than we expected against Tarleton, but I would lean towards the Xavier side for sure. I think you could probably still get a pretty decent money line price on this, which is why I may throw it in our parlay of the day. So let's see. Yes.
Cincinnati gets no credit for what they did against Tarleton. Tarleton State was missing 6 players in that game. The number moved like 7 points, and Cincinnati still couldn't cover the opener of 18.5. Like that. So if you don't,
they got off to a terrible start. Like it's almost like they were like, oh, well, we can just show up, roll out the basketball and win. Yeah, they played really bad in the first half, if memory serves me correct.
Tried to show up against Eastern Michigan and lost. Right?
Yeah,
and
that's a bad loss.
You said something that I very much agree with. Richard Pitino has tweaked some things, and I've always thought he was an underrated coach. Obviously, he still gets, he's obviously he's Rick Pitino's son, so I feel like sometimes he maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's still in dad's shadow a little bit. But I mean, he did tremendous things at New Mexico, where he, from how quickly he took, because if I remember correctly, he took over a New Mexico team that finished near the bottom of the Mountain West in his first year. He didn't inherit a ton of talent. And within, I think he was only there for 4 years, and they were like a borderline, like national power, at least on the, below the top teams last year. So I'm kind of a believer in him. And, with the start that they got off to being so bad, I feel like their market sort of rating is a little out of whack, whereas Cincinnati, they're just bad. Like you can't play those games in succession, Eastern Michigan, Tarleton, and it's like, oh, so now they're just going to go on the road and like magically get up and play a great game against Xavier. I don't see that happening. I like Xavier here too, BP.
Yeah. You talk about trends being predictive, and we mentioned that Cincinnati hasn't won as the visitor in this rivalry in well over 20 years, closer to 25 at this point. Well, Xavier's won 5 of the last 6, 9 of the last 12, 13 of the last 18, but Cincinnati did win last year. So be cognizant of that when you're talking about the history of this rivalry and trends. So there you go.
And real quick, guys, one thing we didn't even mention, which, probably adds, I'm going to say it adds a little bit to the Xavier side. It's Pitino's first time in this game. I'll give you a quote from Richard Pitino, being a first-time coach in the Xavier-Cincinnati rivalry. I understand the responsibility. I understand how important it is to fans. I'll pour my heart and soul to win that game every single year because I know Xavier fans, this community, the alumni, former players, coaches, how important it is to them. It's just an amazing rivalry that happens one time of year. It's like it's not exactly Ohio State, Michigan football, but it's important to walk in as a first-time head coach. You win this game, that buys you a lot of time. I would say beating Cincy buys you a lot of time as a first-year head coach of Xavier.
It's your call, BP. Either I'm doing it or you're doing it. So if you've got other things that you kind of like you can pass because
I'll wait. I'm not ready to commit yet. So
I'm going to commit.
Let's tease. Oh, you're going to commit.
I'm going to commit. If you're not going to do it right now, because I don't want to talk myself into something I like less. So I'm going to put Xavier money line in the parlay, and then I'm going to let you. I suppose if we get to the end of the show and I got something I like, and you are like, yeah, I just don't like anything else, then you can, defer it back to me. But I've decided that Xavier money line needs just to be in.
It needs to be in the parlay. Okay, yeah. There we go.
So I'm going to lock that in. What is have they taken money? I did see that tick up a tiny bit.
It did.
What we still like minus 125? What are we looking at?
Let me take a look here because we're
not that it really matters.
This best
minus 130 you can get at a place that everyone can bet at probably.
And it's
limit you or not. I don't know what we're allowed to say right now, to be honest with you. If we're I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get this YouTube clip. So, and a book that almost everyone can bet at, sometimes they limit you to 5 cents. But they have it at minus 130.
And again, it's going in a 3-teamer, so it's not the what you get.
Minus one exactly minus 130 in a 3-team parlay.
All right, let's go to Garth. Mac basketball. He wants to talk
Peacocks.
Some action. So he says thoughts on a team total under 70.5 in St. Peters tonight. And I'll loop Rob in here because he's our totals guy. I believe this game is at the Run Baby Run Arena in they've renamed it that. It's the Yanatili Center, but a couple years back when they did the renovations, they decided to name it the Run Baby Run Arena. BP, we'll have to do a deep. I don't have the story offhand. We'll have to.
I'm looking that up.
Deep dive into that one. So St. Peters has, I think, since we've got on this show, taken quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
In this game is that I'm now seeing, because I didn't even realize that. So yeah, this is 9.5, or is that where this opened? Did this open 9.5? Maybe
I saw
9.5.
5.5 is the opener.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. That's fine. I'm not like completely crazy. I thought this was 6, which I didn't think much of because it was right in line with my number, I believe, and that's what I'm kind of looking at here. Still very old school, still write a lot of stuff out. Yeah, I made the number 6. It opened 6. This being bet up, I guess. Here's my thing with Canisius, though. Like, let's say someone's out. There's no one really that's good enough on that roster to justify like the next guy up being like a 3-point move. So someone decided they liked St. Peters. I can't really disagree. This is still even though that Canisius maybe isn't as bad as they were last year, this is still a very bad team. Even though St. Peters doesn't have Shaheen Holloway as their head coach anymore, they still play slow. Bashir Mason will exhibit some of those same qualities. So I guess let's specifically, I don't have much of an opinion on the side. I think that move is a little bit much. If you had to bet the side, I think I would punch back a little bit and just take the 9.5.
Did somebody know?
Brian,
has someone been kidnapped? I mean, that is kind of a large line move on a game like this.
Yeah, unless like this is the thing though, they have no one on the roster that's worth 3 points. So I was just based on that, I'd have to take Canisius plus 9.5. But we're gonna focus on the total for Garth.
Yeah.
Rob, these teams don't inspire a ton of confidence offensively. Do you think his under team total 70.5 gets there one way or the other?
I mean, for the last decade, maybe longer, if I'm even involved in a St. Peters game, it's with an under in some way, shape, or form, right? They're just the same version of St. Pete almost every year, except for the kind of the miracle run in the tournament a few years back. But, when you just start adding up handicapping angles that you use to play totals, the pace, like you mentioned, the opponent isn't even going to push. The opponent really isn't even defensively bad enough by results so far this season against slow-paced teams to indicate that St. Pete could exploit that, and get to over 70, right? So even if they're the favorite in the game by 9.5, they want to go slow. The other side wants to go slow. It just has all the makings of like a 67-52, something like that, 67, typical St. Pete. So I'm not betting the game, but there's no way I'm going to argue Garth off. But 70.5 is a large number for St. Pete in any year from, I don't know, 2006 on. It's been a long time since they were any good offensively. So I could see it. I just didn't bet it. When he said Mac, I was praying that he was going to go to Fairfield-Manhattan, where I could give him a little better opinion.
Oh, we're going to go there because I want to talk about
okay.
That. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
I have 2 things. Number 1, Canisius is a bottom 15 team in the country, according to my power ratings. That's not good, obviously. And I have answers. Did not the incredible source known as Wikipedia.com has answered our questions why this is called the Run Baby Run Arena. So the 1967 Rob mentioned it's been a while since St. Peters was known for offense. Well, the 1967-1968 team, their motto was Run Baby Run. They were apparently I don't think Ken Palm has adjusted tempo going back to 68, but apparently St. Peters might have ranked kind of high in that particular metric back then. So that is why it is called the Run Baby Run Arena. Apparently somebody from that team is on the board of trustees, and he said, by God, we're calling this the Run Baby Run Arena. And, who are you to doubt a member of the 1967-68 St. Peters Peacocks?
You just shouldn't be able to change the name of the arena to something like that unless you've just hired if you've hired a Nate Oates assistant or somebody or Reggie or somebody who's going to come in and actually make that name a real thing game by game.
It's still the Antilles Center, but I think they did one of those things where they're they just wanted a second name, so they're going to call the arena portion that I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen first. So I have 2 things before we move on. One, I actually had to look up to see if that was like a fictional number, because the more we talk about this game, the more I can't believe that like St. Peter's is going to have to score 71 points to hit a team total over right here. This is going to look like a pickup game at the Y. It is going to be atrocious basketball. Neither team can rebound. Two terrible offenses. The only way that I think that St. Peter's hits their team total over, or this game goes over, or they cover that insane number of 9.5, is if this is such a foul fest that they're allowed to live at the free throw line, because that's one thing they do well. Second in the country this year, shooting free throws as a team. St. Peter's 81.6% as a team. That would, if unless it's a complete foul fest, it would be shocking that this game gets out of the 60s, one way or the other, which would have all your unders cashing pretty much.
Check the referee crew, Garth.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't have one of those whistleblowers on the court tonight.
Great question right there. We I love when the conversation takes a turn into a deep dive into MAC basketball. I'm all about that. That's of course
not going to get anywhere else.
You're really not. And you know what? I'm gonna hijack the middle portion of the show. You can keep firing in the chat, but listen, it's MAC Friday.
I actually prepared for this already. It's okay.
I saw the games I want to talk about.
I was well prepared for this.
Yep. Rob Veno teased one, so we're going to go to Rob first. Fairfield at Dratty Gym. That's another great little. They say they believe they still have the indoor track around the court. Dratty Gymnasium, probably 100 years old at this point. Manhattan hosting Fairfield. Very interesting game. I want to get Rob's take first here on this one.
Yeah, and real quick, I could not get to the gym last week. I remember I was going to be in Connecticut, and you were offering me a heck of a lot. The $50 meal that I was going to get over there. That was outstanding.
Oh, Fairfield puts a spread out. Yeah, great.
And I watched the game. I was in Stratford, which is a stone's throw from Fairfield. But Columbia couldn't miss that night. Wow. Columbia racked up 106 points. I actually had a client play on the total over. It was almost too easy. I like when they go that way. But I like the Fairfield side here in this game. We've seen a little bit of a switch of favorites. Pick, if you can even call pick. I mean, but Fairfield's now the universal favorite of 1.5. I guess Manhattan did open one as I look here on the live odds screen. Few reasons here, guys. Manhattan, and I know that they've played some teams where numbers can get skewed, right? When you play USC, when you play Hawaii, when you play A&M, sometimes your stats can get skewed. But they've played enough garbage on this schedule for me to actually put some bit of credence into their numbers. Dead last in the NCAA Division I in 3-point percentage allowed. 352 in defensive rebounding. Take that a step further, because generally when you don't defensive rebound, it leads to second chance points for the other side. They get the rebound, they get a chance at a stick back or whatever. Manhattan's allowed the 10th most per game second chance points of Division I teams. Fairfield's got an opportunity there. They're number 358 in points allowed per 100 possessions. Manhattan is just a hideous defensive basketball team at this point in time. Double hideous, Brian. Not just one, but we'll double up on that. It's a bad basketball team on the defensive end. Now they do shoot threes pretty well on the offensive end, and maybe they'll, light up Fairfield that direction, but I don't think they can do enough here. Fairfield, actually, guys, schedule-wise, haven't been bad. They lost to who they're supposed to lose to, but they've beaten who they're supposed to beat. And all these teams, let's use our favorite phrase here again, weight class, all the teams that are in Manhattan's weight class that Fairfield has played, and there's been a half a dozen of them, beat them all. Beat NJIT, beat Stonehill, beat Loyola Maryland, beat Lemoyne, beat New Hampshire, and then, of course, Columbia with that offense whacked them. Seton Hall defended them to death, 82-59. And Penn State, they only lost by 8 in that game. To me, the body of work right here for Fairfield has been far better. The Columbia game, guys, was such a mirage. I think Columbia overall in that game was 40 for 64 from the field. Real hard to do, 40 of 64. Sometimes in practice, you can't hit that. I don't think Manhattan hits that here. They're really a one-trick pony, a 3-point shooting team. They've lost to bad teams here this year. I'd like at this price tag, Adam, I mean, this could be my leg of the parlay. I'll think it through, and maybe we throw them money line in here too. But Fairfield -1.5. I agree with the line move.
I kind of like the under here. Rob's point's well taken about Manhattan being a hideous, double hideous defensive team. But I mean, I believe they're last in the country in 3-point percentage allowed. Teams are hitting over, I think, close to 43% from behind the arc. That can't continue.
Yeah.
Can it? I mean, like, even if you're just leaving your opponent wide open, like they're not going to hit 43% against you and you're at home now. This is kind of it looks like the under's taking some money too. I don't know. This is a high total. We've talked about how it's, it's hard for teams to get to like 140. It's harder than you think for teams to get to 140, 145. We're talking about 156. I mean, are both these teams going to score 80 points? I guess it could happen, but
I have so many thoughts here
Oh,
that I want to get out that I'm going to try to do it in a very short period of time, because I know people want to talk about other games. But you talked about the under. Army hit like 15 threes against Manhattan over the weekend. It cost me. It was another on a string of just inexplicable results. Army is one of the worst shooting teams in the country. They were getting rolls like you read about. I mean, it was just I didn't even think the defense was like insanely bad. I think Manhattan's just had some really, really terrible 3-point luck go against them this year. Another game I'll point to that they played was Wagner. Like another bad team, just hitting prayers. Kid pulled up from the parking lot. I mean, it was just like to tie the game. They've run into some really bad luck. Now, I'm actually would be against Rob in the respect that like I really want to make a case for Manhattan, but I have to at least acknowledge the fact that I haven't really truly figured out how to price this team without Will Sidnor. Okay, so Manhattan's not only is he their best player, he is one of the best players in the conference. He's on a very short list to be MAC Player of the Year this year, and he was deemed ineligible like right before the season for something that they're looking into investigating, so on and so forth. So it's going to be one of those things where like one day he's just going to pop up and they're going to be like, yeah, you know how the NCAA works. Like by the time Linda in the front office gets around to it 3 months later, figuring out if you were eligible or not, then they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, by the way, he can play. And then you'll just suddenly be like, you'll see like 1 minute before the game, oh, Sidnor's here tonight. Like, right. And then the line should move 6 points based off that. So it's like kind of been frustrating because Manhattan was a team I was so high on coming into the season. With him, they're a team that can contend in the MAC. Without him, they can still score the basketball. I mean, they have Winston, Dinkins. They have a trio of guys that can really put the ball in the hoop. Devin Dinkins, Jaden Winston can both fill it up. And if you had put Sidnor on this team, they're blowing teams like Fairfield out of the water. The problem is we still don't know if he's playing. He hasn't played yet this year, so you'd have to assume he's out. And with him out, I mean, he really does lower the profile of this team significantly. So it's like I want to come back with Manhattan here because I feel like they were the better team against Army and kind of got screwed in that game. I haven't done it yet. And to Rob's point, Fairfield has played well in these types of games. But as I see Fairfield take money, I think if this hit like 2 and I was going to catch a bucket here at home with Manhattan, I'd have to go the other way and take Manhattan. So that is a Bayou says Army has went from 354 to 267 in 3-point shooting since that Manhattan game. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I haven't wanted to trash my house in a long time. I almost did after that one. BP, you know the feeling.
I know the feeling. I've been there before. To the person who asked what game are we talking about? Yes, it's that kind of show, folks, that you can just wander in here and say, what in the world are these three guys talking about? We go deeper, of course, guys, than probably any show on the internet on the daily college basketball card. So thank you for your support. Again, smash that like button, click subscribe if you already haven't done so, and keep those comments coming. And I apologize, the person who asked, what game are you guys talking about? I don't know if this happens for you guys. Whenever I get in the comments thing here in the chat and I reply, it shows it from 3 different accounts. I don't know how that works. I don't do the technical stuff behind the scenes, guys. So I wasn't getting ornery with you. Like I didn't want to tell you 3 different times we're talking Fairfield Manhattan. It just did that. I don't know why it did that. So
It's connected to all of the WagerTalk accounts. So
Oh,
you
okay.
post a comment, it comes from like all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have you should have seen Tokyo Brandon trying to have conversations with people during the baseball show, and he's like having like a full blown conversation, and it's like 4 accounts every time he types something in the chat. He had to take his chat privileges away, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, Manhattan Fairfield, the Max crazy man. There's going to be some wild results in this league. There always is. I want to get Rob back in here, and I want to appease the folks in the chat who are like, we need to talk about a real game for a second. There's one that I want to hit that we haven't talked about yet, and it looks like the folks in the chat want to see as well. It's TCU Notre Dame.
We did 13 minutes on Gonzaga, Kentucky to open the
program. Yeah, and
yep.
We did Xavier Cincy. So, you know, and we still have 19 minutes of the show left, so we'll probably get to some others. Rob, TCU Notre Dame. What do you make of TCU? They lose to New Orleans. They come out. They beat Florida. Like, this team's all over the place. Now they're a favorite. I don't know if they should be this big of a favorite, but talk to me about Horned Frogs, the Irish. Do you have a play in this one?
Yeah, go back even further, Adam. And now that 67-63 loss to Michigan looks really, really good the way Michigan's playing. I mean, I forget which game it was. It may have been the Florida game, or maybe it was it probably was the Michigan game, where I texted you and said Jamie Dixon had a game plan to stop these guys, and they executed it. Defensively, they were outstanding that night. Around the perimeter, Michigan's got bigs that can hurt you. TCU handled that. I would love to get the TCU in this game, but the price drives me away. I just don't know if I want to trust them to cover 7 points. I still might, but it's a pretty sizable number here. Notre Dame's been through a couple of pretty good battles as well. I mean, when you play Houston the way they played them, and they snuck in under the number at the end of that game. I think Houston was like 10.5. They win by 10, or maybe Houston was 11. But Notre Dame actually played them really, really well. That's probably as good a defensive team as you'll find in the nation. So TCU's defense might not bother them. Played Kansas pretty well. Played Ohio State really well. So I kind of find Notre Dame a tough team to give 7.5 points to. So I diverted my attention to the total, thinking maybe we can find our way to 140 points here. And I still believe that maybe we can in this game. As much as I talk about TCU and how impressed I was with the defense against Michigan, I still think that there's upside to this offense, to tell you the truth. Now, they just come off of a win against Wisconsin. They get to 74 points. Wisconsin is not your dad's Wisconsin that plays 58, 56 games, but they're also not Greyhound pace. And so to get to 74 in that instance, to get to 137 with Wisconsin, I think it's doable to get to 140 here with Notre Dame. Micah Shrewsbury, it doesn't like to use a lot of pace either. More efficiency over pace, let's put it that way. And they played Missouri really well the other night, right? They get to 147 with Missouri. So for me, I'm still looking at it. I think I might get to a place where I play the over in this game. But there's not a lot of wiggle room. I'll say that too. It's not like I feel like this game's going to get to 150, but they pay me the same for 140 as they do for 150. So whether I think it's going to get there by a half a point or 10.5 points doesn't really matter. I just think this 139.5 number is attackable here, and maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah, Well, go ahead, BP, if you
want.
No,
I actually don't have anything on this game. But I am ready to lock in my parlay leg when we're done with this game.
All right, I'll say a few words about TCU Notre Dame, and then we'll go to you for the parlay. I felt like the number was big. Notre Dame is like, I think I'm a little bit higher on them than maybe the market. I saw this, and I just want to make sure that I'm Yeah. I mean, I saw this hit 7.5. Let me just pull up I believe my number was quite a bit off of this. And to the point where I almost felt like I had to sort of jump in just from a numbers perspective. Yeah, I made this one 4.5. And I think that's probably where it should be. Now, I haven't played it yet, but again, Notre Dame, they have scrappy guards. They can make a few shots. The thing with TCU that they've really had that's really sort of propelled them in these games when they play up is their guards are they just harass the guards, right? Like Florida, we've talked about their backcourt and the struggles that their backcourt has had. Well, TCU just was in their shorts the whole game, and they couldn't handle the ball, and they couldn't get into their offense, and it's probably why TCU won that game. I think Notre Dame maybe handles that a little bit better, and at least to the point where they'll handle it enough where TCU can't run away in this game. So that's sort of what puts me toward the Notre Dame side. It is on my 7.5, I think is a decent bet from a numbers perspective. I'm going to have to sort of think about that one throughout the day, see if it continues to move. But I wouldn't I think 7.5, you're laying way too much of a premium on TCU. I think that would be a bad bet from a numbers standpoint. So it's going to be Irish or pass for me. Okay, BP, the floor is yours. What are we putting in the parlay?
Let's go late night degenerate special. Let's take the points with San Diego against San Jose State. San Jose State profiles as a terrible favorite. Why does San Jose State profile as a terrible favorite, you may ask? Well, there's two reasons I'm going to give you. Number one, they stink defensively. Teams are shooting inside the arc. And if you have a bad 2-point percentage defense, guys, I think you would agree that tends to be less fixable than 3-point. 3-point defense can be very variable game to game. 2-point, if you're bad at defending inside the arc, it means you're a bad defensive team. Okay, San Jose State, bad defensive team. They also don't play very fast. Adjusted tempo, San Jose State, 345th in the country. That's bottom 21. You're not good defensively. You don't play fast. How are you going to win by margin? This number against the San Diego Toreros has gotten up to 7.5. I'm going to go with the Toreros plus 7.5 here to stay within. And Palm has this as a 5-point game. I would concur with that.
I was on San Diego last week at one point, and so on paper they ended up losing to Cal Baptist by 15. They had a generational scoring drought in the second half of that game, where that was for 28 minutes. That was a very, very competitive basketball game. You would not have been able to decipher who was the better team. And
Cal Baptist isn't bad.
Well, that's the thing. We talked about Cal Baptist a bunch on this show. And then they went literally, I'm telling you, they didn't make a shot for 9 minutes. It was just out of nowhere, could not buy a shot, and turned what was, and I think they were, and the reason I bring it up for two reasons. One, they were right in this price range. I think they were plus 8.5. Here you're getting plus 7.5. That was the line, right? BP 7.5 for San Diego.
Let me just double check there against.
Yeah,
I'll check. Keep going. I'll just hold on 1 second. San Diego closed plus 8 against Cal Baptist. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's basically what you're catching here. With San Diego in this game. Point is, if you take that 9 minutes out, which to me was very much an aberration. Also, these MTEs, they were in they were somewhere in California playing on a neutral
Palm
court.
Springs.
I don't like these MTE type tournaments for true evaluations of what a team is, or these neutral court games. So even though they didn't have to play back-to-back games in that one, it was just a one-off on a neutral. I still it is what it is, right? This is a team that beat an Idaho team that I think is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. Last time out, they went to Long Beach State, lost a competitive game. BP, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that San Diego, that Steve Lavin, I believe, still their head coach, is competitive here, and that's all you need. Competitive game gets you inside 7.5.
Glad they got him out of the booth. Yeah, San Diego was up by 9 in the second half of that game against Cal Baptist, and then they
just didn't make a shot.
I've got the play-by-play. They were at 51 at 14-19 left in the game. They were still at 51 at 11-18, and they were at 53 at under 9 minutes. They scored 3 points in a 6-minute stretch. They scored 6. Oh my God, have mercy!
Yeah. Please don't I don't want to relive that. So yeah. It was.
They did. Oh my God! How long were they stuck on 57? What is this?
9 minutes. one of the well, I
8-16, they got to 57. They didn't get to 58 until 131 left in the game. And they were 14% from three in that game as well. Oh, give me the Toreros.
So when you talk about a deceiving box score, a 9-point lead on Cal Baptist turned into a 15-point loss. It was just like, how do you even, right? Like, how do you even do that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I messed with the screen Trigg. I'll put it back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we're going to move on. So what we'll do, we got 10 minutes left. Jose Perez asked a question about Brown Bryant. So let's talk about this game, and then we'll go to Rob for his parlay leg. I'll give him a little bit of a heads up so he kind of gets his thoughts together. But I do want to bring him in on Brown Bryant because I have a sort of total spin on this one, and I always like to get his opinion on total. So, BP, you'll remember, I went to this game 2 years ago, this exact game, this exact weekend. And then I came and met you at the sportsbook in Boston after the game. So right. This is Bryant and Brown. This is a rivalry. They play this.
We were all very perplexed why you were going to this game.
I had to get. Listen, I can't justify leaving the house and coming all the way to Boston if I'm not getting a game or two. And I went to Northeastern the next day. If you remember, I missed dinner. To go watch Northeastern. But anyway,
what a dinner that was too.
Yeah,
I remember that.
This is a rivalry game. They play it every year. It's typically a battle. It's been close the last couple of years. The reason I want to bring Rob in here is this is getting bet up on the total, 127 to 131.5. Yet I've watched a lot of these two teams play so far this year, and none of it has been aesthetically pleasing. Now you can talk about Brown and say, well, they've been without Lespert. Landon Lewis just came back. They were really down two starters for like 3 or 4 games to start the season. Bryant is year one for Jamion Christian. I remember Jamion Christian because he came in 1 year at Siena, had a good year, and then took off, went to George Washington for a couple of years. But to Jamion Christian's credit, I always have a warm spot in the heart for Jamion Christian because he gave us Jalen Pickett and let him stay for a couple of years. So that was a Jamion Christian recruit. He is a good recruiter, and I do think he's like going to put together a team at Bryant at some point, but this team has no clue how to function yet. Like they really just don't know how to like function offensively. It's a total mess. Very similar to like the year he was at Siena. It took him a while to sort of figure out, hey, let's just play super slow. Let's let Jalen Pickett walk the ball up the court and then just ISO him and kind of make a play. Reason I say that is 127 up to 130.5 is the wrong move, in my opinion. That should be moving the other way. These two teams are both horrific offensively right now. And Brown is still arguably missing their best offensive player or one of their best offensive players. So, Rob, like, what do you make of that move? Any reason that it should be going toward the over?
Well, I had thought that Lewis was going to play tonight, and that's probably
Lewis is playing. They've been without Lespert. Lespert's the guy that hasn't stepped on the floor yet this year. Lewis is back.
And so let me just describe it to you from the way I would think it out, Adam. The first problem with Bryant for me is you go from Phil Martelli to Jamion Christian. So right away, you're putting square peg in a round hole. You're taking all the players that were there and either running them off and bringing new guys in, but you're changing the entire system, right? Christian is just known for being slow paced. Martelli, the exact opposite. You're not picking people up 3/4 court. You're not applying any pressure, et cetera, et cetera. You're not grabbing a defensive rebound and running the other way. So from that perspective, the first year is going to be bad offensively in my mind right away. And it shows out in Bryant's results, actually. They just haven't been there. You described how ineffective their offense has been. On the other side, the Brown side, unlike some previous versions that were high scoring, it's not the same with Brown either. They're kind of slow tempo as well. Combine those two, slow tempo, Bryant, extreme 360-degree change of systems, and then add to it rivalry intensity, which in my mind usually is on the defensive end in rivalry games, defensive intensity. I could see a case for Bryant team total under, to tell you the truth, 62.5. And I can't really see a case to buy into over. Again, the line moves are crazy based on a lot of, just play personnel on or off the floor. I don't know, Adam. I would be with you. I would play under. I also think you could get the Bryant under in that game, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, to Jose's actual question, like he's like, no one's really betting Brown. I kind of like Brown. There was a point in time where Brown actually dipped to -4.5, and I said that might be a reasonable bet. Now it's up to 6.5, which I do agree with the move because I think Brown is a little bit undervalued from like a statistical profile because they were without a couple of their top players. But then the other side of the argument is this was a team that heavily relied on Keno Lilly last year for a lot of what they did offensively. It was one of the best players in the Ivy. He's obviously now gone. So I just don't know if if I could comfortably lay 6.5 in a game that like the local fans do care about. That was an awesome environment at Brown 2 years ago for that game when I went, and I'm sure it will be again tonight. So I think I would just have to punch back against the market on the total because nothing I've seen from these two teams suggests that this is going to be a high scoring game. So a lean toward Brown, lean toward under for me. And Rob, I'll kick it back to you to close this parlay out. What are you looking at?
Well, let's close it out with a total because that's generally how we operate here on this show. I'll close things out with a total. The Samford VCU game, guys, sitting at 150.5. Two options here for me were either to play VCU team total over 84.5 or play this full game over 150.5. And I think I'll go with the full game over 150.5. Martelli's not a guy to let off the gas at the end of a game. To tell you the truth, they'll keep scoring. So I like that from that perspective. But 6 of the 8 VCU games this season have all gotten to 151 or better. 6 of the 9 Samford games have all gotten to 151 or better. So combined, that's 12 of 17. Real high percentage of these teams playing into the 150s. VCU, when given a team like this, can push the gas and get into the 80s. The reason why I didn't play them to get to 85 is that there's been some instances here where Samford has not allowed a real good opponent to get to 85, mostly based on tempo, guys. Lenny Acuff, real quick, I'll just go back to having been, I'm a Belmont guy. Belmont-Lipscomb is a big rivalry, but with Lipscomb, it was way more offensive efficiency than it was tempo. They could, in conference play, sometimes they would up the tempo, but they're a really usually good offensive efficiency team. Hasn't quite happened in the numbers yet this season. I think that's due to non-conference scheduling. But here, they're off a really, really bad offensive performance against Utah Valley. Utah Valley crushed them. I think they didn't even get to 50. So I'm a big bounce back guy. If you're a decent offensive team, you probably get into the mid-60s here because there's going to be enough opportunity. One last thing is that they don't turn the ball over very much, but when going through their schedule and the opposing defenses, there's not a lot of pressure-style teams like VCU on their schedule yet. So I think VCU is going to get some cheap points here. To me, it all adds up to a game that lands 154 or better. So give me over 150.5 in the Samford VCU game. He's muted.
He's muted. Over 150.5 in that game. That's a full game total. That'll close out our parlay. I got to bring this up real quick. So a couple of people asking about Siena, Niagara. Terrible tragedy for Siena this week with the Liam Gleason, who's been the lacrosse coach. I believe his first year as an assistant was my senior year back in 2008. He went over to coach Albany for a couple of years. He's been back, and he's totally turned the Siena lacrosse team around. Passed away earlier this week. Terrible. Fell at his home, 41 years old, 3 daughters. Like, by all accounts, the nicest guy. It's just been like an awful week because of that. So McNamara shared, like, his office is right next door. But like, listen, like it's pertinent information. Siena plays at home tonight. They opened 14 against Niagara, which is my number, was right on the number. It's possible that people's minds are elsewhere than on basketball for Siena. Now, could go one of two ways. They could show up and want to light up Niagara, who's got as bad of a team as they've had in my opinion, in the Greg Paulus era. But one thing about Paulus is he's a game planner. He's a scrapper. And if like you're not totally ready to play, he's going to hang around. He always does that. So terrible situation. By all accounts, Liam Gleason was a great person and just a tragic thing to happen there. But we got a game to play. That game's being played, and it's info. You come here for info. So I don't have an opinion on the game. Like I said, my number came out right on there, but it was worth pointing out on the show. All right, we're going to close it right there. And just going to put in, so I'll throw minus 130 for the parlay for Xavier. I think that's fair. I don't know why this calculator's not working, BP.
Well,
let's see.
Impressive.
Okay, there we go. It's going to be plus 544. So your 3-team parlay today is going to be Xavier on the money line, which BP co-signed on. So I'm excited about that. He's Xavier on the money line, minus 130. Brian Power is going with the San Diego Toreros plus 7.5 out west tonight at San Jose State. And Rob's going to go with a full game over Samford VCU over 150.5. We are back ahead on the parlay plus 3.22 units or up $3.22 for every dollar if you were playing these equally. We hope to add some more tonight, but at worst, boys, we're ending the week positive no matter what happens here. But I really would like to get another one so we show up Monday morning with a nice cushion going into next week. If you're looking for more plays, we really should point this out. We have a great weekend special. You get all three of us for one price. And I saw people in there asking about Saturday games. I mean, between the three of us on a slate like tomorrow, you're probably going to get more opinions than you would get on this show. Between the three of us all playing different games on tomorrow's slate. Tonight's are really free. That package was always supposed to be a Saturday, Sunday thing because obviously we do the show on Friday. And BP, we're so generous. We're like, throw them Friday as well.
Yes.
Throw them Friday as well.
Yeah, and that's 3 days. Trigg, myself, Rob, $79. All of our college basketball plays for the next 3 days.
And I'll just add real quick, guys. I don't know about you, Brian, but with the college football season this weekend being dwindled down to 9 conference championship games other than the 65, 68 game schedule, more college basketball will be on my Saturday card. Obviously, with the lack of CFB being played this weekend, so you get a little more time to dive into that huge Saturday card.
Absolutely.
All right, boys, another great week of shows. Appreciate both of you. Appreciate the chat and everyone that shows up on a daily basis to kick it with us for an hour. Obviously, if you missed the show live, you can head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel, catch the show on demand. Drop us a comment when you're over there. Maybe a like. There's no dislike button, so sorry. No. Can't dislike the show. But drop us a like.
We wouldn't let you hit it anyway.
Yeah. We programmed that. We would program it to take it out. No, we want to hear what you have to say. Good, bad, or indifferent. It really does help the show. And we hope you have a good weekend. We'll be back Monday morning, more full court press. Take care, everyone.